Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Back Nine Report. We come to you every week to bring you the latest in the world of golf, special interviews, recaps, analysis, insights, interviews, whatever we can bring you, we have it from the world of golf. Thank you for listening and watching us every week. Every week I'm alongside my co-host Fred Altvater. Now we're doing it via Zoom and doing video every week, so you can see us also when we publish it to YouTube. Very soon we're going to be live on YouTube as well, so be waiting for that. But anyway, Fred, hi, how are you this week?
Oh, Carlos, just another week of the same old, same old. Seem like I'm in Groundhog Day. It's just working from home and you do the same kind of routines every day. I'm ready to be able to get outside and play a little golf, but it was 17 degrees here this morning. It seems like it snows a little bit every day. It was snowing this morning, most of the morning this morning. Not really accumulating, but again, up here in northern Michigan, it's still cold and snowy. You know what? Even though there are no new golf tournaments, everything's still shut down. We've got a tremendous amount to talk about tonight, Carlos. We've got two great interviews. Michael Whan was kind enough to come on and talk to me this morning. Jordan Young is going to talk a little bit about remote golf lessons by using V1 Sports. Got a lot of good stuff for you tonight. I want to just mention before we get going that, as everyone knows, Boyne is our longtime sponsor. They have moved their prospective opening date out to May 14th to comply with the state regulations, but that's still subject. That might be changed, who knows yet, but they're still offering fantastic pricing on their 10 courses. Check out, you get military veterans and active service people get 20% discount on all packages. The daily double lets you play 2 rounds for as low as $115 a day on any of their courses. Plus, there's a happy hour tea time special that you can play after 4 p.m. I think it starts around $50. So it's really a good deal. Everything you need to know can be found at their website. And that's boynegolf.com, B-O-Y-N-E golf.com. They got a little thing up there that they're closed down for COVID-19, but if you click through that, you can get to the website, still get any package you want. So, Carlos, I'm going to flip it back over to you for right now.
All right, so let's get started right away. And our first piece of news that we're going to cover this week, it involves Commissioner Whan, but also PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan, because they're among the multitude of U.S. sports figures that were named to an advisor group.
Carlos, you froze up there.
That were named to an advisory group by President Trump. The council is one of the several coronavirus task forces that Trump has put together so far as they are looking towards reopening the economy. Trump discussed this new council, which he's dubbing as the Great American Economic Revival Industry Group. Wow, I got it. Whew. I didn't know I was going to get it, but yeah, that's the name. And that was during the discussion last Tuesday at the Rose Garden press briefing. According to Shams Charania, she's from The Athletic, the council is scheduled to take part in a call this Wednesday, so it should have been already done. Monahan and Whan are on the committee. They're along the commissioners from the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, NHL, as well as the heads of the UFC, NASCAR, WWE, USTA, the WNBA. I mean, I can keep going, and there's a lot of the big-time commissioners and leaders of all the big organizations from sports. And this panel of advisors that Trump is going to be consulting by phone. They will be operating separately from that White House task force that is leading right now the administration's public health strategy to contain and mitigate the pandemic through this next few weeks. But there's expected to be some overlap between them because, of course, they have to rely on the information that the CDC and the other White House task force that is working with the public health strategy so that they can be in accordance one with the other. So that's going to be some of the overlapping. But the important thing, Fred, that I see, even though we are going to I don't see how they're going to work together. So many big heads, big leaders there, but they have one common goal, and it's to bring back sports to us in mass and try to see and do it on a safe way. So, how do you see this working out? It's the important thing to me is that at least we have the two big ones here in the States, Michael Whan and Jay Monahan. They have a seat at the table, so they can at least have something to say for their sports and how they're going to be coming together.
Yeah, exactly. And those are the two guys that you would want advising you, I think, on anything golf in the United States. They have their finger on the pulse. And as we're going to hear Michael talk a little bit in this interview that's coming up, there's a lot involved. There's a lot of moving parts in rescheduling and getting things going again. Number one concern is the health of the athletes and their safety. That's number one. Number two, taking care of the sponsors. And so, now you're changing dates. So the course that you were going to use initially may not now be available, and you have to find a new place to play. So that has to fit the time frame. And then it also has to fit the sponsor. Does it work for the sponsor to be at this other location? And then on and on and on. And then you got to throw in TV, you got to fit the TV time to all the other stuff. So it's a real complex puzzle that they're working with, let alone trying to get business back up and running in the United States, along with all the sports leagues and all the sports business. So it's a very complicated issue. It's great that Jay Monahan and Michael Whan are both involved in this. Michael really didn't want to talk about it much today, and so we didn't cover it in the interview, but we did talk about scheduling and all the things that are involved in that. So, Carlos, that's really about all I've got on that issue.
Yeah, I can really understand why he might not have talked about it. This is just something that it's getting started. They just might have had the call today because that initial call was going to be happening today. So I guess he doesn't have still many things to say, and I understand why he wouldn't do it. But hey, we know.
Well, he's always so forthcoming with us on pretty much any issue involving golf or the LPGA. He's so outgoing, but this is just something he just wasn't comfortable talking about yet.
Yeah, I think it's just on the early stages. Otherwise, he would have talked about it, and he doesn't have really much to say. And it's better not to say anything that is not going to sound well. So, I mean, I know that whatever he's doing is going to be the right thing. We know Absolutely. Michael Whan, and that's the way that he works. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about our weekly check-in on the major tours. And so far, when we think they're going to be returning to action. So if we go to the PGA Tour, still on schedule next, the Charles Schwab Challenge, it's going to be done. It's going to be for June that they're aiming. So we still are looking. I'm sorry. Let me just go back to my notes here. Yeah, the Charles Schwab Challenge still May 21st to the May 24th. That is near Main Fort Worth, Texas. I don't know. That's very, very aggressive, but who knows? We'll keep an eye on it.
Carlos, the Charles Schwab will be June 11th through the 14th. Nothing's going to happen before June.
My mistake then. I had the wrong date here. And the European Tour, the BMW International Open remains the next one. And the LPGA is the Walmart Northwest Arkansas Championship. That is still for June 19th to the 21st. And again, that is another mid-June that they're aiming. And that's going to be a little bit of the trend. If you go through the PGA Tour Champions, then last week we were saying that they were planning at the start of June, but all June they wiped out. So right now the next one that they have is the Bridgestone Senior Players Championship. That is July 9th to the 12th, and that is in Firestone Country Club there in Akron, Ohio. That is the best bet to start. I mean, that is to what they're pointing now. If not, I guess they will have to wait until the Allied Challenge that would be on July 31st. But we'll see. The Corn Ferry Tour, they were saying that it was May plans, but now on their schedule is going to be a to be determined tournament that is scheduled for June 11th to the 14th. All we know so far is that it's going to be played at TPC Sawgrass, but at Pete Dye's Valley Course in Ponte Vedra in Florida. That doesn't happen, then they'll have the Wichita Open a week after that. The Ladies European Tour, they also scratched out June, and now the Mediterranean Ladies Open in Spain, July 16th to the 19th is up next. Again, like the Euro Tour, the Ladies European Tour, they're going to depend on how the different countries are going to be opening. They travel everywhere, so we'll see what's going to happen to them. The Symetra Tour right now is the Inland Resort Championship. That is their next one so far, but we don't know. I mean, it could be this mid-June. The Pasco Charity Championship in Cincinnati is the week after that. If they go and scratch all June, then they will have to look for the Donald Ross Classic at French Lick. That would be July 9th to the 11th, Fred. That is what I have for the check-in on the tournaments. What else do you have on this?
Well, when we hear Michael talk, he's going to they're going to try and start in June at the Walmart, but they already have a contingency plan. If they don't start in June, those tournaments in June, the KPMG and the Walmart also already have substitute dates lined up for later in the year if they have to scratch them. So if they don't start in June, they're definitely probably going to start in July 1. And that would be the first tournament in July is the Marathon Classic in Toledo, actually. I think it's 9th through the 12th. So if they decide not to start in June, they will start July at the Marathon Classic. That's about the only other changes I know from what you said. But Carlos, I got a question for you. So given all the stuff that we've seen and all the coronavirus stuff that's around, if you're a golfer, if you're a professional golfer, are you going to be comfortable going out and traveling and playing when June rolls around? What do you think?
I don't know, man. It's a difficult situation. I know that everybody has their own opinions, and they're entitled to them. Personally, I would still be a little hesitant to go about it. It was going to depend also on the economic situation of the player. It's going to depend on what is their position on it. I guess that the majority of them are just itching to go out and play. We all want to see them. I know that fans are taking, maybe most of them are taking the precautionary way, and they wouldn't be going out if there's no safety measures being taken. We're going to talk about what Dr. Fauci says about the fans returning in a little while. But at least from the player's perspective, I know that they're itching to go back out and play. I'm sure that when they decide to go back and play, every organization is going to have every safety measure in place. There still need to be social distancing, which I think is going to still be part of for the next foreseeable future until we finally see that this is flattening out. There has to be some safety measures being taken. I'm sure that's going to be part of it, and the players, I'm sure they're going to be comfortable returning. The ones that are not, they have their right. I mean, that is their job. This is not something that they are required to go week in and week out. It's if you don't go, you just don't play. You don't earn money. So to them, it's like if, like you mentioned in our outline, they're independent contractors. They don't have this is their job, but it's themselves. They're self-paid because they have to go out and play. If you don't go out, you don't earn money. It's as simple as that. So it's a personal decision for them to take. But I am sure that they should feel comfortable because any decision that the tours make is going to have their safety first.
Yeah, and speaking of safety, I mean, a lot of these events, especially the ones in June, are probably going to be without fans. The tour is targeting the John Deere Classic, which is right after the 4th of July holiday, July 6th through the 12th. They're targeting that to be the first tournament back with fans. And I would say you're probably going to see most of the fans there with masks on to prevent them from coughing or sneezing on someone else, or if they happen to have it and don't know it, that they don't pass it on to someone else. So that would be a safety issue. There could be some distancing issues that they may be talking about. So Yeah, we're going to see some changes in some of this stuff and some safety things that they're going to want to do. But as a player, I'm going to probably want to go out and play. After being off for about 4 or 5 months, I'm going to want to get it back out and play. You know, the ladies haven't played since January. The men did play, you know, up into through February. But yeah, it's been a while since they played, so I'm sure they want to get back at it. But the other thing too, Carlos, is there's going to be so much golf from, say, July 1 right up to Christmas. There's going to be a tremendous amount of professional golf to be played. So they're going to be able to pick and choose if they want to wait a month before they even go back out until August or something, feel better about that. That might be the case. But it's going to be an individual situation. Like you said, they're going to have to just weigh their options and where they're at, what tournaments they're going to play in, what's available later for them, what's available now. So I'm sure that that's what we'll see.
Yeah, and I think it's time to bring in Commissioner Whan to hear about what he has to say about what's happening so far this year. This has been a terrible year for the LPGA. I mean, they've been slammed with cancellations and postponing tournaments, and who better than him to tell us what's on the LPGA's future, how is it been so far, on his own words. So Fred, tell us a little bit about what else can we expect from this interview that you had with Michael Whan this morning.
Well, just the fact that the tour is set up to have the biggest year ever. World record purses. The International Crown was going to be this year. The Olympics was going to be this year. It was just set up to be a really great year. 35 events. And so it's down the tubes basically, and they're scrambling to figure out what's going on. And he said, usually he would be planning for 2023 at this point. And right now he's planning for June, July, and August. That's about all the farther out he can think right now. So yeah, why don't you go ahead and play it?
Okay, let's get it ready here.
We're happy to be talking with Michael Whan, the commissioner of the LPGA Tour, who, like everyone else in the world, is working from home right now. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm not sure my wife and kids agree. I think they're ready for me to go back to work, but I'm all good here.
Listen, I want to talk a little bit about the LPGA Tour. You have been just devastated this year. Since you took over in 2010, the tour has been growing and growing and growing. 2020 was set up to be the biggest year yet. Record purses, number of tournaments, a lot of good stuff happening, and boom, the coronavirus hits. How disappointing is it to you personally and your staff that this pandemic has just kind of brought things to a halt?
Well, it's beyond me personally, and certainly beyond my staff. I mean, I've got, young athletes from all over the world that probably have waited their whole life to make it to this stage. And those rookies probably played once or twice so far and have been sitting since January. So that's tough for me. I mean, it was an Olympic year, so that the buzz within the LPGA and player dining was probably bigger than ever, because everybody, everybody who's been to Rio know how good it was, and everybody who hasn't had heard about how good it was. So those were the same things, as you say, biggest purse in TV or ever. So, I mean, I think from a standpoint of really making a name for yourself, busting on a scene. I mean, the fact that it came right after our off season, I just know how hard these athletes work and how hard the caddies work and the coaches. And it's tough to not give them the opportunity. In the grand scope of things, it's hard to whine and cry foul, because the whole world is taking a step aside. So it's, we're not the only ones, but still tough. We got fans from 165 countries that watch us every week on TV, and I'm frustrated that I can't give them what they want to watch.
I know you've been working tirelessly to figure out a schedule for the rest of the year. A lot of tournaments have already been canceled. A lot have been rescheduled. The Korean LPGA is set to go back at the middle of May. I think you're shooting for a June 14th return date. Any new news you can share with us on that?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm excited to see what's going on in both South Korea and China. When we first started canceling events, and we had an event in China, one in Thailand, and one in Singapore in February. We decided to cancel all 3 of those. Back then, it was probably because what we didn't know about COVID-19. It was fairly new and uncertain, and what we were hearing was concerning enough to kind of put it on hold. Now we've been canceling events based on what we do know, obviously, about COVID-19. But it's exciting. As I talk to my friends in China, the factories are open, the people are going back to work, and people are gathering again. And the same is starting to be the case in Korea with the KLPGA. I know the Korean men's Major League Baseball is going to start at the end of May. So I'm excited to think that 2 months ago, where they were and 2 months where they are now. So when I flip that to America or Europe and think if we're about a month behind them, that's fairly exciting in terms of what it could mean for our schedule this summer.
We've got a couple of big events coming up here in the Midwest. The Toledo, the Marathon Classic, the Meyer Classic. The Meyer Classic was actually going to be held the week before you want to return at the Walmart now in Arkansas. Has that got a new date yet for the Meyer?
Yeah, you know, when I announced the changes and to start on June 15th, one of the things I told the players, which was true and still is, that both of our June events, the Walmart Northwest Arkansas and KPMG Women's PGA, both already have secured later fall dates in case June isn't feasible to play an event the way they and we want to play an event. So I've still said from the beginning I'm holding out for June 15th, but probably more realistic to early July. And if that'd be the case in early July, that means we'd really start in Toledo and then be in Midland, Michigan, and it'd be a great place for us to start in events that are, you know, as liked as much as they are. Yeah, in Meyer's case, playing in June, I mean, Myers is so involved in the community and what's going on in terms of not only keeping food on people's tables, but helping food banks and United Ways and everything else that we knew pretty early in those discussions we needed to get out of their way in June. We are evaluating fall dates for them, and things are moving so fast, knowing that they're really probably not going to play until late September. Those aren't ones we've, to be honest with you, July and August have been our focus right now. And but I do think Meyer can play later in the year. And like I said, if we don't get Arkansas and Aronimink, which is where we'll play the women's KPMG, off in July or in June, they both already have pre-established later dates in the season.
Also, the USGA has now already announced that the Women's Open has moved on out. So you can go in the end of July. You're going to have golf right through the end of the year.
Yeah, I've told players to plan on, when we start playing, plan on playing till Christmas. We're probably going to play until December 20th. Will probably be our last Sunday that we play. We'll take the week of Thanksgiving off, but I don't know if we'll have any other off weeks other than that. So, yeah, they're going to be busy. You know, they're going to have to pick and choose their own schedule, but we want to give them as much golf, as much starts, and as much opportunity as we can as soon as we think it's safe to play. I've said this from the beginning, and this isn't a cop-out. It's just true, which is, you know, every fiber in my body is competitive, and I want to win. I want to be the first out there. I want to show you how sports can play. But as both players and staff and people I trust have counseled me, and I do trust them, you know, because they know me. And I've had a player said to me about a week ago, "Hey, Mike, I know you want to be first back, but winning in this situation doesn't mean first across the finish line. Let's make sure we can do it right." So even my 25-year-olds are counseling their 55-year-old commissioner to do the right thing, not necessarily do the fast thing.
Well, the LPGA was really hurt so much. I mean, you had to cancel so many events. You really only had 2, where at least the PGA Tour has had like 22 events already this year. But from the LPGA, from the ladies' standpoint, their ability to create an income this year has sorely been depleted.
Yeah, I mean, we don't do the wraparound season, so we start in January and end in November on a typical LPGA season. So we had just started in January, played 4 events, and then, you know, there we were. About to fly to China, Thailand, Singapore. I've said this many times, you know, we knew what coronavirus was before America was putting it in any newspapers or cable shows, because we were learning about it in the marketplaces where it was really, you know, where it was really beginning. And unfortunately for us, that means, you know, since February 1, we've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for the, you know, for the green light to get back in. So yeah, this is going to be a strange season. As I've said many times, 2020 will not be a regular season. It'll be the year of the asterisks for the LPGA. Whether that means we'll still be able to get an official season in, or whether that means 2020 will become part of a 2021 wraparound kind of 2-year, 1 season, is still to be determined based on when we get back and how often we can play when we get back. It's one thing to say, hey, we're going to start on, you know, July 6th. It's another thing to believe that we're going to start on July 6th and play week in and week out all the way through December, because we play in so many different countries, so many different regions. Every government is going to have their own perspective. All the travel bans are things we're going to have to navigate. So it's not a given that when we start, we can just continue to play. So I'm not exactly sure how 2020 will play out as it relates to a season. It may be, in worst case scenario, just part of a 2021 season, which will actually be a bigger season than we ever envisioned, but certainly longer if it takes 2 years to complete.
Michael, a lot of your work involves touching base with sponsors and keeping them in the loop and working with them. What's the temperature of the sponsors going forward and all the changes that have had to be made?
I wouldn't say there's a standard answer for that. You know, in the course of 35 different title sponsors, I wouldn't say there's 35 different answers, but there's certainly 7 or 8 different answers, depending on where they are in their business, where they play their event. You know, really impacts how bullish you're feeling right now. Some regions of the world are saying we don't want to talk about sports till, you know, June, July, or August. Some regions of the world are already starting to kind of come back. So it's difficult. If I talk to BMW Korea versus if I talk to, you know, Mediheal, which plays their events in San Francisco, right now you get 2 totally different perspectives about the future in terms of when you could play. So we really have to take it one at a time. You know, when we have a sponsor who's both capable of moving into a date we have and the venue that they've secured is, as well as, you know, we play on golf courses. And so fans don't understand this, but for me to say, hey, I'm not going to play the Kia Classic in March, but I'm going to play it in September. And by the way, it's at Aviara Park Hyatt on a cliff overlooking Carlsbad, California, where they probably have 4 weddings every Friday and Saturday. For me to block out the hotel, block out the golf course, easy to say, but I really have to make sure that all the venues work. I mean, does it work for the title sponsor? Does it work for the tournament operator? Does it work for the hotel and golf course? And can it work for our TV partners, not just here in America, but all over the world? So you have so many different stakeholders in any one given tournament move. There's a reason why we're typically working on our schedule 2 years from now. And so to be working on a schedule that's 2 months from now is pretty new sledding for me. I mean, it's, you know, you're usually trying to figure out great dates for 2023, not July 23. So it's a very different year.
I think I heard something that you said earlier in an interview or something that you might even be holding 2 tournaments simultaneously. Is that a possibility, or any other changes that we might look forward to through the end of the year here?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see some things that you didn't expect to see when we launched our 2020 schedule, and probably some things that we've never done before. I'm not really sure if that really means 2 tournaments. What I mean by that is, if a tournament really can't play for whatever reason, some of them have said to us, you know, what would happen if we were to give our purse to you and you could apply that purse to other events? Wow. So you could see an event playing for a much larger purse than we announced when we announced the 2020 season, because a couple of other events couldn't play, but they were willing to provide their purse so that we could provide it in other events. So I think one of the things I'm fairly confident in saying is, no matter when we start and no matter how many events we play, we will play for significantly more per start on average than you thought when we started 2020. Meaning, you know, we typically, an average person, our tour is about $2 or $2.1 million per start. We'll play for a higher average than that when we get started in 2020, simply because you know, our majors will probably play and they're a bigger percentage of the purse. And then B, some of the events have given us the ability to take their purse and provide it to other events that can play. So the net result to the players is they may not get as many starts, but the dollar opportunity per start may be better than ever before.
I know another thing that's really near and dear to your heart is the charities that are serviced by all these events in these communities. These charities really count on that money. And so to get these events going, not only for the ladies to make some money, but for these charities to get the money in those communities is really important to you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody who's not having a tough year in 2020, but it's really a tough year for charities, because when everybody's watching themselves financially and not sure about the future, the last thing a lot of people are doing is writing big checks to charity, and that's concerning. So us playing can be a source of income that's really key for these folks. I do think that all of our tournaments will probably make less money in 2020 than they ever thought when the year began, because combination of fans and other sponsors and everything else is really challenged. But if we can play and can turn some money back to these local charities, it's, you know, for a lot of these local charities, we're a significant difference maker in their budget. So the ability to play and the ability to kind of leave it better in these marketplaces has really probably never been higher, because they're probably hurting in other sources of revenue. And we'd like to see if we could make sure we're not one of those hurting sources.
Michael, I'm sure it's a challenging year for you. I know you'll get through it as you always do. And as always, we wish you a lot of luck going forward, and we'll be watching when you guys get to tee it up again.
Yeah, I'll tell you the same thing I tell my players at the end of every video I leave them, which is, we've been around for 70 years. COVID-19 is not the worst thing we've seen, and probably isn't the worst thing we will see. And, it was a sucker punch to all of us that nobody saw coming, but it's not going to stumble the LPGA. We're a strong franchise, and we're going to take our hits just like a lot of other franchises are. But when we're back, we won't be back weaker or less version of ourselves. We'll be back just as strong as we ever were. And for our fans around the world, I apologize for the break in the action, but we'll be back just as soon as we think it's safe for us and for the folks who come watch us.
Michael, thanks for taking a minute to talk to us.
Thanks for covering us. We appreciate it.
That was it. Commissioner Michael Whan. Great interview as usual. I mean, a lot of information, a lot of insight that we got there, some clarification on whether there were going to be two tournaments or not at the same time, which the way that he presents it now is a very good news for the players. They're going to be playing for less tournaments, but really for more money. So there's a way that he's looking out for his players and for his sponsors as well, to give them the exposure, but at the same time looking out for his players to earn the money that they haven't earned the rest of the year. Of course, it's going to be tough for players to be back in form right now as they come back, but it really makes you feel great that he's on top of everything right now, looking after his sponsors, looking after the charities, after the players. I mean, that is just Michael Whan at his best there.
Yeah, like I say, he's such a great interview. I always enjoy talking to him. He is so forthcoming, and he's so sharp and on top of everything. The thing that he mentioned where the other tournaments that aren't being held, they have this money that was guaranteed, and they're willing to share that, or at least put it into another purse, for the advertising dollars that they get out of it on that event. I found that really amazing. That was surprising. And then, I know it's a complex issue when you start moving these things around, because you've got TV and you've got the course, the venue, and all this travel and all this stuff. But also you got to throw in the international television, because the LPGA is an international event. It's just not here in the United States. So it's really a complex deal that he's working with, and just does an outstanding job. And he's always a blast to talk to.
Definitely, and hopefully we can have him maybe sometime after all this is already working, and we can know a little bit more about next year, which is another challenge, because like he said, he's looking for July 23 instead of the year 2023. But it's going to be interesting, and I can't wait to see what he brings in for next year and for the future of the LPGA. I can't wait to have all golf back. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's time. We have to do this right now. But, everyone is staying close to home these days. Home activities, they're exercising. Not me. I got to admit it. I'm not exercising. Anyway, but if you see me exercising, there's something wrong with me.
Walk into the refrigerator.
That's a good one. And my arms are very strong. I keep, eating things. It's very, very exhorting, but they're playing games, all those different things. And a lot of things are right now either by video conferencing. Right now we're recording this in Zoom. I mean, I was talking to my wife last night. Zoom is almost becoming a verb now. Let's Zoom it. I mean, let's just Zoom this conference, let's Zoom that call. It's going to be like Google pretty soon. If it used to be Skype, now it's Zoom, other video conferencing service as well. So that is the one that is really dominating. But I mean, I've seen all kinds of things. You even see that in New York, now they're marrying people on Zoom. This is just incredible. So how about getting golf lessons via your phone or TV?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
You can do it.
Cool.
You can do it too. That's like the new avenue that is being opened. And Fred, you talked to the PGA Professional Jordan Young, and he explains how he can give lessons online right to your home. You don't have to leave it in. Tell us a little bit about this interview that we're going to watch.
We've talked about V1 Sports before. I talked to the owner of the company down at the PGA show, Brian Finnerty, and we did a little video with him down there that plays on Back Nine Report TV as well. But Jordan is a PGA pro there outside of Ann Arbor who uses V1. And if you're working with a professional that has V1 capability, you could be anywhere. You could be on a golf trip someplace and your golf game goes sideways. You could call him up and say, or, videotape a couple swings, send it to him. He'll critique them and say, hey, try this, and maybe get you back on track without even being at his place. You can do it all over your phone. But right now, with everybody cooped up in their houses, it's a great way to get some lessons and maybe work on your game while you're at home, and Jordan can help you.
All right, let's watch the interview. So let's get it ready here. And here we go. Oops, that's not it. Here it is.
We're happy to have a PGA professional, Jordan Young, with us tonight on Back Nine Report. Jordan has been coaching for over 25 years in the southeast Detroit area, right outside of Ann Arbor, at the Fox Hills Performance Center. He's a director of performance at his golf academy, 2013 National Award winner, PGA Player Development, 2012 Michigan PGA Teacher of the Year. He hosts Spin on Golf for WJR Radio all during the summer while golf season's on. And Jordan, we're really happy to have you here on Back Nine Report. How's it going with everything in quarantine right now?
Well, Fred, hey, thanks for having me. Good to see you. We're locked down. It's been a month now, and we're surviving. We're learning new ways to teach and coach, and it's tough, but it's a challenge in another way too.
That's one of the things we want to talk about tonight. Like any other business, like anything else, Zoom or online conferencing has become so important, and it's really becoming a big thing in golf right now, in golf teaching. And I know we've talked about V1 Sports in the past, and you're a big believer in that. You work very closely with them, and you can be anywhere. You could be at Pinehurst. You can be in Florida. You could be in Arizona. And if you're having trouble with your golf swing, you can still help them even while you're sitting back in Ann Arbor.
Well, yeah, it's changed a lot, right? I mean, now it's heightened big time, remote coaching, and it's pushed us into this arena. And V1's been a huge leader in that for a long time. And yeah, I've been partnered with them, and I've done a lot of stuff with you as well, and you've interviewed them many times. Their platform's been there. They've been great. They've been helping out a lot of their instructors get set up to coach remotely, which is important. And then, as I've talked to you before and others, it's changing every week, every day, how we do things. And, I didn't know really what Zoom was a week ago. And now I'm doing 2, 3, 4 of these Zoom sessions a day, and learning new ways to coach and share information with people.
I think you were telling me the other day you were even on a call with Sean Foley, getting some new information and learning more about the product.
Yeah, I mean, at any given time, you can jump on a call, Instagram Live, which is another new thing I've learned. It's pretty popular. I can just scroll through and jump on any, remote call at any time and chime in. And I think that was the biggest group. There was about 350 people on it. I was on one today with Trevor Immelman and Andrew Rice, and there was about 60 people. So a little more intimate. Some are 7 or 8 people, just depends on the time of the day. So you're always trying to learn.
Jordan, it's really not that hard to get set up to do this, is it? I mean, pretty much any dummy, and especially kids who are really up to date with their phones and all the technology. This is really simple stuff to do. Can you kind of walk us through how you would maybe get set up and what you'd be looking at and doing with someone that wants to get an online lesson?
For sure. So, we call them remote lessons or virtual lessons. There's 2 ways to look at it. There's an analysis, which is, hey, this is what your swing's doing. Here's what you could do better. Here's some, drills, away you go. That's an analysis. And then we've got this new thing called live coaching or virtual remote coaching, which is what we're doing right now. We're talking, we're interacting. You could be hitting into that beautiful screen behind you or a simulator in your backyard or wherever. That's the more technical or the trend that things are going in that direction. As far as educating people, that's the key. That's why I wanted to do something like this, to try to teach people how that it can be very easily used with a phone or an iPad, and basically uploading a swing to V1 and then bring it right up onto your Zoom video here and analyzing it. And it could be right in person.
So let's say that I'm one of your students there at your Jordan Young Golf Academy, and you know, I'm hitting it pretty good. I'm going to be going on a trip, and you know, we're pretty satisfied with everything. And I go down and I play a day or two, and all of a sudden my game goes sideways. And I get on the phone and say, Jordan, this is terrible. I'm hacking it all over the place. What can you do? Help me out here a little bit.
Well, that happens often, doesn't it? Right? You get the 911 calls. I think the cool thing about this, if there is a positive with this whole shutdown and the difficult situations that all us golf professionals are going through and others, it's a line of communication. It's your coach in your pocket for the future. And it's pushing us into areas that we really haven't been before. It might have been there, but not a lot of guys were using it, the instructors. And now we're trying to educate a lot of our students to use it. The time can be way shorter, so it's more condensed. It's more of we'll call it a practice session that you're watching for them, so supervised at times. And it could be 5 minutes. It could be 10 minutes. So yeah, you could be on the range warming up. It could be post round of a tournament. You could be on a vacation trip. You could check in once a day for 2 or 3 minutes, and that's it. That's how convenient it can be. Instead of trying to drive to a lesson, maybe it might take you a half hour, an hour to get to your lesson. It takes an hour to take a lesson. You might warm down for a little bit. It's an investment, and the costs are a lot higher. So what we're finding is the costs are a lot lower. The time can be varied. And the communication, the open line of communication is what's most important for student coach.
So if I'm in the range, all I really need is my phone or maybe tablet. But I always felt it was kind of important to get the right angles with these videos with the cameras, right? You want one straight behind and you want one right at 90 degrees from the side angle, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has their own, you know, I want this, I want that. As long as it's consistent, that's what's most important. I prefer, 90 degree down the target line, face on, and then down line, I like through the hand line, and everything has got to be about waist height. So we do give those instructions beforehand. We're trying to get people to do it at 240 frames a second. Obviously, we can slow everything down inside the apps, which is pretty cool. So there's certain directions, pretty simple, but with the phones and the apps, that's really all you need.
I think you have an example that maybe you could pull up on the screen there and kind of show us what it would look like if I'm out on the range doing that. For
sure. I'm going to do the old screen share here, see if we can pull it up. You see that one okay?
Yes, it's great.
All right. So this is a student, ironically, that's down in he's down in Pinehurst. He gets to self-quarantine down in Pinehurst, and the range is still open. So he sent me this little clip, and I can slow it down. He can hit some shots. I pulled this right up on his Zoom lesson, and we talked through it. And in his instance, we were working on some upper body flow and moving forward a little bit too much there. So trying to get him to stick the finish a little bit better. So that's one example. The other one, let's see if I can pull up here. The other one would be just standard through with V1, and anybody can send in a swing. And all we do is we pull stuff up right through the inbox in our locker. Right here, it shows up here. We upload it. Boom, you can pull in a swing. And I'll just take this gentleman here who was doing a little test. I don't think I've got anything in there for him. But you know, anybody can send lessons in, whether they're in their backyard, the range, wherever it might be. I can pull this up like I have this gentleman here, and we could be talking about his swing live in a Zoom. And that could be anywhere from 5 minutes, could be 10 minutes, could be a half hour. So it's an ongoing process. And at the same time, you can have his camera set up right there in the studio, on the range, in his home, garage, basement, whatever it is, live for us to watch him hit some shots. So it's that simple. It's that easy. It's just a matter of training people.
Yeah, that looks really cool. Of course, V1 Sports, there's an app you can download it right on your phone, right on your tablet, easy to use. You guys can communicate back and forth from wherever you're at. Also, I think, like, if you're doing a lesson there, right there live at, say, Ann Arbor, and you film a couple swings, you go and put them up on your computer, on your tablet, you can look back at them right there, put some lines on, maybe even do a side-by-side with somebody else's swing or an older swing, and
Absolutely.
get that instant feedback right away.
Absolutely. I think it's just the engagement and building those trust levels with your students and knowing that you're there for them maybe more often with these kind of methods, instead of saying, hey, Fred, I really can't see you for 6 weeks. I don't have any openings. Well, that's not very good for the student, and it's not really good for the student-coach relationship either. So this is really, really allowing some opportunities for building better relationships with students.
Yeah, and one of the things we touched base on when we talked earlier, that doing the online is much less time consuming, much less costly for you. So if somebody wanted to do some lessons, it's a real kind of an inexpensive way to get started to do something.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys have started where they're just posting stuff on their website. For me, they can go to jordanyounggolf.com and remote lessons. Basically, they just pay right online, and then I direct them to upload some swings, and I ask them what they're looking for. I mean, some kids do, I do 3 or 4 kids in a group right now for Zoom. I'll do about 5 or 6 of those a week, and they're growing, starting to do adults. So basically, I'm just monitoring 4 people doing their thing. Those are hour-longs. And then most of the privates right now are around about 30 minutes, and it seems to be the sweet spot. But that doesn't mean, unlimited sessions where you can check in with me for as many times as you want for a month for $99. So it's all new, right? We're still learning what will work, but we just want to be there for our students.
So V1 Sports and Jordan Young Golf Academy can kind of give you better interaction between teacher and player. You can learn maybe a little bit faster. You can have more access. It's maybe a little bit less expensive. It's good stuff. What else do we need to tell them, Jordan? How do they get a hold of you?
You can just go to jordanyounggolf.com, check out remote lessons, and hopefully we'll be on the air together and spin on golf sooner than later.
I'm ready to go. Listen, we're going to get this weather straightened around. We're going to go out and play a little bit this summer, all right?
I hope so. Be safe and stay healthy, Fred.
Thanks a lot, Jordan.
All right, thanks so much.
That was it. Jordan Young. And Fred, he mentioned something very interesting about establishing a better relationship with your student, which you know better than me. But it's giving him also some other opportunities that I'm sure he's not going to give up. Because this type of remote lessons, like he's saying, oh, I'm booked up during the whole day, but this is a way that a student can just record something, send it to him, and then he can just provide feedback outside of the schedule that he has. So it's more opportunities that, this digital age that we're going into right now is providing. And, I don't think that's something that they would let go moving forward.
No, you're exactly right, Carlos. It's kind of forced us into doing this stuff. And like he said, he up until the last couple of weeks, he didn't know anything about Zoom. And so he's learning as he's going, but he's finding it so easy to work with. We've known about V1 Sports. I started following V1 Sports probably at least 10 years ago, back when they first got started. And I've watched their growth and what they've been doing over this time. And they're really at the lead. They're one of the leaders in the industry right now, and it's so easy to work with. Jordan does a fantastic job. And what he told me is he's finding it. So like you said, he might have 3 or 4 lessons booked, at his academy, but somebody may send him some videos, 2 or 3 different students send some videos. He can look at those. Maybe he's got an hour downtime. It only takes him maybe 10 minutes to look at them, fire back a couple comments, and and get them working on something else. So it's that communication, it's staying in touch, it's giving them immediate, quick feedback, and really helping the student, get better and enjoy the game a lot more.
Most definitely. And, there he said it, jordanyounggolf.com if you want to reach out to him and have some remote lessons. But now let's move on to, again, talk about when will the sports be returning. And Dr. Fauci, who is our top infectiologist here in the States and the leader of that White House task force that is on the public health, trying to bring back really the economy to get back, the industries back working and all that. He was saying a week after, there was this poll that said that 72% of the fans would not go and watch a sports event if there's no vaccine. He said, well, June, it's still too early to have people on the golf courses or any other mass event that you would see there. So NBA, NHL, MLB, not happening through June, as per his words. I still think it's going to be, even if they open it up, I don't think that a lot of people will like to go back until they see that it's safe. That's going to be the majority. I think that 72% is very accurate to what the people right now are thinking. But as for the players in golf, they have been asked, what about playing without fans? My favorite sport, which is horse racing, has a handful of tracks and have not closed so far, but they don't have spectators. The horses are running, the people that work with the horses are there. The jockeys, of course, they have to be there. But and they're running, and they keep running their schedule. They're taking all the safety precautions. And I think that would be something that golf might be starting to apply when they come back. Maybe not start with the fans, but they have to take all those precautionary measures to get the sport going. We heard Brooks Koepka mulling about it, that wouldn't be such a good idea, but in general, I think that yes, it's going to be different from them. It's going to be like going for a practice range. They're going to go there and practice, and they're not going to be fans. It's going to be their caddy, it's going to be the other player. Of course, they're going to do their social distancing thing, but I really think it's not going to be much of a deal. Maybe for those like Brooks, he really thrives on the fans. Patrick Reed would definitely, I don't think he would make a cut. I mean, he needs that players, the fans heckling him to get better. So Patrick, I think he won't make a cut. Sergio, I don't know. He needs that too. But anyway, there's a handful of players, I think, that would say, no, I thrive on the fans and their energy. But really, when you come to think about it, they're saying, you shut up, I need to do my shot. So they'll be comfortable playing to me. Yeah, it'll be different for any sports that comes back, but they'll be able to make it.
Yeah, it's like any other sport. There's that when the crowd, you do something and a crowd kind of gets into it, you get that little bit of an adrenaline rush. But for golfers, you want to try and even out your emotions anyhow, so that you don't get too excited or you don't get too low. And most golfers grow up playing by themselves anyhow, or in, just a foursome at the most. Maybe you're out there with your buddy playing a twosome or something when you're growing up. So golf is a singular sport. It's not really a team event. You're out there practicing, maybe with your caddy, and that's about it. And that's what they're going to be doing without fans. They're just going to be them and their caddy. It's going to be like the old Ben Hogan thing, how was it playing with Mr. Hogan? Well, he said, nice to meet you on the first tee. And he said, thanks for the round on 18. I mean, you didn't talk to Ben Hogan when you were playing. A lot of golfers are like that. They don't want to talk to you. They just interact with their caddy and they go about their business. So I don't know that it's going to make a lot of difference. Like you say, maybe some guys feed off that energy and they need the crowd. They need that interaction. But Most guys, they work on their game by themselves. So they'll adjust. They'll get used to it. It's going to be, for me, Carlos, I go to a lot of tournaments normally. And to be quite honest with you, I'd rather watch them at home anyhow. You can see more.
Yeah.
When you're out there, I go to the range, spend a lot of time on the range, and I might go out to 1 or 2 holes during the course of the tournament, but that's about all the course I see when I go to a tournament, from the range and back to the media room and watch it on the TV. So for me, it's not any big deal. I just want to get them back playing and see some action.
And I think it's going to happen. If there's a sport for it to happen, it's golf, definitely. That's why it's very attainable as long as the states where they're going to be playing, those stay-at-home orders are starting to get lifted. And that's why I think the PGA Tour is going to make it in June, because here in Texas, Governor Abbott is already has established a plan to get the economy going again. And like this past week, some of the parks started opening, and there's further instruction for April 27th, April 30th to eventually start getting everything back. And we've seen also the state of Georgia is already opening back up. Florida even opened the beaches. I don't know why, but anyway, they opened them. I think it's essential. So it's open. But we will see that happening. If there's a sport for it to return and be playing, is golf. And I can't wait for it to be starting again. I think the players are all for it, and they'll be backing any of the plans that are coming. I'm sure, like we have said already, any tour is going to be taking their safety first whenever they go.
One of the things I found funny though, when Koepka was talking about, he's talking about he likes to have the fans there, and it'd be funny, it'd be different not having fans around him. He said, guys are going to lose golf balls because the fans aren't going to be there to stop them or find them for them. They're going to hit a ball out there in left field someplace. It'll be gone. They better just re-tee one and move on.
Yeah, they won't see the crowd going around. It's right there. Yeah. We got it. No. But anyway, moving on to our next piece of news, and is that PGA Tour Commissioner, ex-retired PGA Tour Commissioner Tim Finchem, is going to be enshrined in the World Golf Hall of Fame. He's going to be joining Marion Hollins, Tiger Woods, and Susie Maxwell Burning. So, I mean, what else can we say about Tim Finchem and the PGA Tour becoming what it is right now? Just like we can say about Michael Whan defining what the LPGA is, we can say for sure that Tim Finchem has defined what the PGA Tour is right now. The players and the tour is reaping the benefits of all the hard work that he did, and it's a very deserving honor for it.
Yeah, I read a thing where some people didn't feel like, Tim Finchem wasn't deserving of being in the World Golf Hall of Fame. And to me, that's completely bogus. He took a really good product up from under Dean Beeman, who was the previous commissioner before Finchem. But he expanded it tremendously. When he became commissioner, I think the total purse was around $90 million. When he left, if you combine the purses of the Korn Ferry Tour and all of the McKenzie Tour and the Latino American and all that, it was over $400 million. The PGA Tour alone was like $350 million, something like that. So the FedEx Cup was added during Finchem's time. Now, he was lucky in the fact that a guy by the name of Tiger Woods happened to come along 3 years after Finchem became commissioner in 1994. Tiger hit the scene in 1997, which, as we all know, that's what elevated golf to the stratosphere that it is today. Just like Arnold did back in the 50s when golf started being televised. So it was good fortune for Finchem, but he knew what to do with it. And the other part of this is for the players, he developed that retirement plan for them. And any player that becomes vested, this doesn't get much play, but the players have probably the best, by far, retirement program of any business in the world, unless you become a CEO and get a golden parachute or something. But the players have a really good retirement plan. Tim Finchem started that and got it going. Jay Monahan, again, has inherited a tour and very healthy from Tim Fincham back in 2016 when he took over. And now with the new TV contracts, they're looking to go ahead. So Tim Fincham, I think, is very deserving of this. One person I want to talk about, we all know about Tiger. We don't need to talk about him. Susie Maxwell Burning was announced today, actually, that she's going to be the fourth person enshrined. But the other person I want to talk about, Carlos, is Marion Hollins. Nobody really knows Marion Hollins. She's kind of the forgotten woman in golf. But she was a very important person back in the 20s and 30s. She was a golf designer when women weren't allowed to be golf designers. It just was unheard of. Women couldn't even belong to private clubs, let alone build the golf course. She was instrumental in building Cypress Point. Before that, she built the National Women's Golf Course, okay? Then she was involved in building Cypress Point, which a lot of people tell you that might be the best golf course in the world. Then she was involved in building Pasatiempo, which is definitely in the top 10 of golf courses in the world. She developed a real friendship with Alistair McKenzie. She actually put the bug in Bobby Jones's ear to hire McKenzie to build Augusta National. There's a really good story when McKenzie was at Augusta and scouting the site. He wanted to have Marion Hollins come and look at the site as well, because his mandate from Jones and Clifford-Roberts was to build a golf course for a tournament, but also make it fun for the membership to play. So it had to have those two elements, which are kind of counterintuitive to each other. So he wanted Marion Hollins to come and take a look at it and get her thoughts as well. Well, Clifford Roberts says, no way. We're not having a woman out here tromping around these hills in the mud. No, that's not going to happen. And McKenzie fires back this note and says, listen, she's built 3 golf courses with me. I need her input. She knows what I want, and I want her to come out there. So boom, it got done. Marion Hollins helped consult and helped McKenzie build Augusta National. So in addition, she was a U.S. amateur champion. Marion Hollins is a fantastic figure in golf, Carlos, and I'm glad that she's finally getting the recognition that she deserves.
All 4 are deserving. And going back to Commissioner Fincham, yes, he did benefit from Tiger Woods, and it was the golden egg. But sometimes you can have the best car in a race, but if you don't have the driver capable of winning it, it doesn't matter what you do, it's not going to win. So he was able, like you mentioned, very importantly, to know what to do with that product. And he took it to this new level that we're seeing. So congratulations to Tim, to Marion Hollins, to Tiger Woods, and of course, to Susan. Now, let's talk about the caddies who are raising money for less successful caddies, Fred. And I know that caddies are very dear to your heart. And what is with this story that we have there, especially with the Bandon Dunes Caddy Relief Fund, raising about $100,000?
Yeah, the one of the caddies on the European tour, who's been very successful, knows how difficult it is for the less successful caddies, and so he developed a program to get people to give stuff away in an auction and create some money and to give to the other caddies, which is fantastic. In Bandon Dunes, which this picture you're looking at are some of the caddies at Bandon Dunes, which is one of my favorite places on earth. Bandon Dunes really believes that part of the overall experience there is playing with a caddy and enjoying the golf in the way it was meant to be, walking with a caddy. And so in an effort to help their caddies, they have about 400 in the summer that work out of there to take care of all the guests that come in there. They, again, were also having an auction and selling some things, and they had raised $100,000 just real quick. So we talked about Ernie Els last week doing the club help thing, and it just seems like everybody is pitching in and trying to figure out some way to help someone that needs some help, Carlos. and these clubs and these caddies helping caddies and guys that need the money, they're trying to figure out a way to get it to them.
Most definitely, and it's very, very disturbing. I mean, everybody's being affected, and to see that others are looking out for the ones that are not as fortunate, and we see it all over, and especially here in golf, it's been like a trend going on. Now, moving on to another piece of news, and I like this one very, very much because it's going basically to my backyard, and that is the Byron Nelson. That it's going to be. I live in Plano, Texas, which is just neighboring with McKinney. And so I'm not only going to have the PGA moving up to Frisco, but now I'm going to have for 5 years just a short drive to McKinney and have the Byron Nelson going there. So they have signed up for 5 years to be there at the TPC Craig Ranch. Great golf course. Wait till you'll see it on the TV. And also we see that the USGA is announcing a new TV app. So they're also getting on with the technology as well. They don't want to stay behind. So Fred, how about these two news?
Yeah, it was obvious that the players weren't happy with being at the other course. It was time to move on, and so they moved out to Craig Ranch for 5 years, and so that will probably be a very, very good positive move for that. And also the USGA. These with live streaming and all the options for viewing stuff, the golf tours have to stay on top of that. And USGA is just like the PGA Tour or PGA or whatever. They've got to figure out the best ways to get their message and their product out to the general public. And so they've come up with a new TV app. Just like us going live now, or not going live, but doing Zoom and putting the video up on Backline Report TV on YouTube. All these things are available, and so they have to take advantage of them. So there's going to be more ways to view golf. The USGA is taking advantage of some of that, Carlos.
They definitely are. And hey, if you're not now in this digital era on it, hey, look what we're doing. Now we're doing Zoom and going YouTube as well. So, hey, we're with the trend.
We're cutting edge, man. We're tech geeks.
Always.
Well, you are. I just follow along.
Hey, states are reopening golf courses as concerns from the coronavirus are diminishing. So, Fred, this is great news for those states. They're finally realizing golf is definitely an industry that definitely will not be that much affected by the coronavirus. We have been talking about it. This has been always an individual sport. This is not a mass sport where everybody's together and all that. We even play, you go in your car, I'll go in mine. That's no problem at all for them. They can take all the safety measures. We've talked about it at large. So I'm happy to see that states are reopening golf courses, and that is just the start of what we need to see before we actually see the pros starting to get back on.
Yeah, if you look at the Northeast, New York is going to be opening up their golf courses again. If you go up into the New England states, a lot of those courses are still closed. But I think Pennsylvania, Illinois, and Michigan are really the only three courses here in the upper Midwest or the eastern portion of the Midwest that still have their golf courses closed. Illinois recently opened theirs back up. Illinois is still closed. They're looking at opening back up. Wisconsin just opened back up. Minnesota just opened back up. Illinois, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are kind of the three holdouts here yet. Pretty much every place else, golf is open. Even a California health official, we're talking California here, okay, went out and checked out some golf courses in the Sacramento area. And he said, even with a lot of cars in the parking lot, people were making sure they kept their social distancing. They were maintaining that. There was no food sales. Everybody was doing what they were supposed to be doing. He says, there's no reason why these golf courses shouldn't be open. If everybody does what they're supposed to do, it should be fine, which makes common sense. That's the way to do it. So I see more and more, of course, these states are going to get opened back up. The weather's going to get fit. Here in Michigan, I talked to some people this week, and the weather really hasn't been that good to play anyhow. So they really haven't lost that much here yet in Michigan. We had one really good week, but they can maybe make that up hopefully yet. And if the governor, I think so many people are hitting the governor here in Michigan who's saying, hey, there's no reason why this shouldn't be open. I think she's going to probably open this up before very long. There's just no reason not to. Golf is not going to cause a big problem with the spread of the coronavirus, Carlos.
We're sure of that, and you will see if it's going to spread again. It's not going to be because they're playing golf. Now, another piece of news that we have is that there's a small college, St. Edward's, just 3 hours from me in Austin, Texas. We're starting to see the effects of this opening of revenue for college athletes. We talked about this at large, and we understand. To me, I've been always on the side of keeping that amateur and not pay and not be rewarded. But of course, they have opened it up, and now one of the things that we talked about that was going to be impacted is that the smaller programs are going to be starting to be forced to, if they don't have the way to find money to fund themselves, then they are going to have to be cut. And this was one of it, that this college, St. Edward's in Austin, Texas, was forced to cut the athletic program and included golf as well. So that is just Fred, one of the start, and we're going to see this, I'm sure, spread countrywide.
Yeah, this is only the beginning, Carlos, for sure. Unless you're a big football or basketball powerhouse, collegiate sports programs are a real drain on school budgets. And, they've already have a problem with competing with online classes or lucrative jobs now for some trades, electrical trade or, plumbing or whatever. Those things are paying big money now. So guys don't need to go to college for that. So, with budgets are going to have to be cut now, with all this stuff that's going on now, a lot of these smaller schools that were struggling anyhow are going to have even more problems. So athletics are the first thing to go, Carlos. And this is only the beginning for this. We're just going to see this more and more.
Sad to see, and hopefully, like everything we have adapted here in the coronavirus era, hopefully these smaller programs can be able to adapt themselves and find ways to stay alive, because that is really the avenue from some of the players and athletes that don't get the chance to go to those big programs to get some way of playing the sport they love when they get to college. So, hey, sad story to see. But anyway, before we close the show, we have to talk about the Fenstop Country Club merchandise from our friend and colleague, Ryan Ballingy from Golf News Net. Tell us all about it, Fred.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics tonight, Carlos. So Ryan, like all of us, was getting bored at home. And so he went out in his backyard and set up a little 3-hole chipping course. And, in the picture he posted up, he had a big, big high fence around his backyard. And he was out there chipping on this little course. And so on Twitter, he was asking for names for his course. And so anyhow, he settled on the Fenced Up Country Club, FUCC. So we had to give a shout out to Ryan for his ingenuity of developing a little 3-hole chipping course in his yard so he could get out and play a little bit. And also then coming up with this unique name. And he does have some merchandise. If you go to his website, it's fucc.golf. If you go there, you can buy some of the merchandise. It's not expensive. But the best thing is 50% of the money is going to go to the PGA Emergency Relief Fund, Carlos. So he's doing it primarily to help charity and benefit the PGA. So it's a good program. I love it. Great idea, Ryan. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ryan. Well done. Well, Back Niners, that will wrap up another week of the Back Nine Report. Thank you for watching. It's always our pleasure to bring you the latest in the world of golf. Special thanks to our VIGs, very important guests of the week, Commissioner Michael Whan and PGA Professional Jordan Young. Don't forget to join us again next week here on YouTube, or if you miss it, check it out on iTunes or tune in also on Roku TV. If you haven't done so, follow the show on Twitter. Our ID is at Back9Report with the number 9 in the middle. My name is Carlos Torres, along with Fred Altvater. We wish you to be happy, be blessed, and enjoy the great game of golf. Happy golfing, everybody.
See you on the back 9, guys.
See you.